Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be covering the Kranvagn, which I guess just means crane wagon. It is the tier 10 Swedish tech tree heavy tank, and if you've been playing ranked battles or you've been playing any battles at all in 2022 World of Tanks, you have definitely seen this tank because it's gone from kind of middle of the pack mediocre to incredibly strong after some of the changes that Wargaming have made to it. Maybe like a year ago now it's been. It's a very good tank, and the ML2 is also quite good, and the ML1 is also on the tree. But anyways, we'll get into the stats now. Okay, so the Kranvagn is a tier 10 Swedish heavy tank, and it's got really good DPM, almost 3,000 base, 440 alpha, which is slightly above average, 252 standard pen, which is fine, and a heat penetration 330, which for premium rounds, which is also good. It's got a 3-round clip. It does 1,300 damage in a clip in a pretty short amount of time, right? The 2.75 intra-clip is good, right? So like 3 seconds and longer feels kind of long, and 2 seconds and shorter is really, really short. And so anywhere in between there is kind of like, that's a really good sweet spot for World of Tanks. And so 2.75 feels pretty good, to be honest. And so that's the whole reason that people like this tank. Well, that and the armor, which we'll get to later, but like it's got a nice comfy clip. It's got a 3-round, like it's a 3-round clip and only 21 seconds or so base before you're up with another clip. So this is what makes this thing so good, is that you can pop up, dump a clip in somebody, and then you've got 21 seconds, and then you're at it again, like without even food and a good crew and stuff. So like, for example, as a comparison, if you had instead the Italian shitbox Rinoceronte, and you were on your last, you dumped your 3-round mag, it would take you almost the same amount of time to get one freaking shell back. The last shell for the Rinoceronte is 19.5 seconds, and then you have one round, and then 16 more seconds. That's almost an entire another clip from a Kranvagn, and you get your second round, and 15 more seconds. So if you just look at these numbers for what it takes to get one shot, and you compare them to the Kranvagn, it is pretty obvious what has happened. Like, this thing is just a monster. It's just a monster. Like, you don't have to. The nice thing about the nice short, like the 3-round clips, is that you don't have to feel bad if you like shoot once and then you want to reload the clip, or you shoot twice. You don't have to worry about, like, lots of times with bigger clips, the trade-off is that you have a longer drum reload. Well, this is a pretty short drum reload, so it doesn't really matter. You can go into almost any engagement with your full 3-round clip, and you're good to go. The gun is a little bit on the derpy side. 0.35 base accuracy or final dispersion is just okay, and some of these dispersion factors, the gun just feels kind of derpy, and so that's gonna play a factor in how what the equipment that I recommend is. Standard shell velocity is fine, 1,000 meters per second. The ammo capacity being 48 does kind of, you notice that. Like, I think if they gave this thing 3 more rounds, that'd be really nice. I don't know. It's just, I hate the way Wargaming balances things by ammo capacity, because it feels bad. Like, it puts a hard limit on the carry potential, right? You can only do, it sounds like a lot, 21,000 damage, and it is, but like, that's not counting misses and blind shot fires and things like that. And so like 48 shells is not a lot. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So but otherwise, it has an excellent 12 degrees of gun depression, almost all the way over it. All the way around it, I should say. Let me see here. Terrain resistances are really bad. We'll get to that in just a second. It has a top speed of 60 and a power to weight of 18. So if you've just finished watching the last video I did, which was for the Lorraine 50T, it had a very similar stats. It had 60 top speed and like 16 power to weight. And I got done talking about how fast that tank was. And this is an entirely different story, because it doesn't feel very fast. And why is that? Well, because these terrain resistances are awful. 1.5 on hard is awful. 1.68 on medium is awful. 2.76 on soft means you are just slowing way down. And so it's just, you can see here the effective top speed. This thing, without any boost or anything, will never reach higher than 42 kilometers an hour on hard terrain. Or medium terrain, which is most of the maps in the game, is 39. So it's definitely a lot less fast than it should be because of those terrain resistances. And that's one of the things that plays a big role in how tanks feel, is the terrain resistances. So we're going to get into how you can fix that and what you can do about that in a second. But the turret, I mean, the armor is pretty solid on the, I'll get into that, but the armor's good, or it can be good if you're doing it correctly. Let me see here. Other than that, the camo is bad, but it doesn't matter. The view range is 390, which is pretty solid, and the crew layout is a 3-man crew, just like every other high tier Swedish tank. The mediums are like that, the tank destroyers are like that from tier 8 up, and all the heavies are like that from tier 8 up. So this is a pretty consistent thing. The Swedes like their 3-man crews, and it's a little bit awkward because the commander has a lot to do and there's 2 loaders and stuff, but like, yeah, it's, I mean, this it seems comfy, right? I don't take issue with this, and the fact that they're all the same and all the premiums except for the Lanson are like that, like the ML 1951, like it's crew layout is fine, right? So having said that, we get into the armor now. So real quick, basically this thing it's a hull down god. That's why the name of the video is the King of the Hill, because what you want to be doing in this thing is you just, I mean, it's pretty obvious if you look at it, like, dear God, you just need to hide this hull, and, you know, extra bonus if you can use some gun depression. Like, if you use all of it, my God, look at that. Isn't that terrifying? And even the you know, the hull is not that great, but it is very well angled. So if you can use any gun depression, right? So this is about the level. Where is that? If I point to myself here, it's about this. So if you can be using about 5 degrees of gun depression or more, that turns this upper hull into an auto bounce angle, right? Because after a certain amount of angle, unless it's a heat round, I don't want to get into this is too deep, but there's a certain amount where most rounds will automatically ricochet no matter how unless they're overmatched. Oh my God, too much stuff. The point is, it's very well angled. We'll just, Jesus, we're gonna leave it there. So you don't need to be using a lot of gun depression, and this is the thing I like about this tank, is that not only is the turret solid, but like, you can make the hull work too surprisingly well. So it's not like the hull is great, but if you can angle it well and you can do the things you're supposed to be doing, it's pretty good. I will say, if you're not looking at the right thing, like if you are looking at a Kranvagn that's looking at somebody else like this, then the cheeks are really, really easy to pen. So that's something to keep in mind. Basically, this is, if you're not looking at it from the front, you're in all day, right? So that's something to keep in mind. The artillery is going to shit on you just all day. So that's something to be aware of. While you're looking at this thing, it's worth noting it does have 2 tiny little cupolas on the top, and those are connected to the turret, right? So what am I trying to say? They're connected like a trunnion like this. So if you move the gun down, the cupola follows. It's just like the Mivi tanks, the Yo tanks. So what that means is, if you're looking at an enemy and you're aiming at them, they will be able to see your cupolas. I mean, they're like 2 pixels high, so they're pretty small. But what I would advise that you do in these tanks is, if you are loading and you can't just get out of the way, let's just say you can't get out of the way, don't put for the love of God, don't put your gun down, but put your gun up just a little bit. Maybe not all the way up, because then you might end up exposing some of this, which, you know, that's actually pretty good. So it doesn't matter. Just put your gun up, and when you do that, that will hide these cupolas, right? So if you're doing this and you're wiggling around, there's no way somebody's hitting those cupolas, because they're tucked in. They're hiding behind. So that's what I would do when you're reloading and stuff. If you can't just back out of the way. Yeah. Other than that, it is, you know, something else to be aware of. I forgot this in the stats. It is very light. It's a very light tank. Whereas the weight, it's only 44,000 kilometers. And what that means is, just for example, just as a comparison, like an IS-7 is, let me see here, 68. So what is that? I mean, it's way significantly heavier. What that means is the Kranvagn can get beat to hell, right? You can ram these things in a lot of different tanks can ram a Kranvagn and do a lot of damage. So if you're playing in a Kranvagn, don't let yourself get in a position where someone can ram you, because you're not going to do well with that. It's not going to go well for you. And if you're playing against them, don't be afraid to ram a Kranvagn. It says heavy tank, but they're not that heavy. And weight is a big impact. Weight is a huge factor in determining how much damage you do to something when you ram it. So if you are, that's why, like, yeah, we'll just leave it there. We'll leave it there. So that is the armor, and now we'll get back into the stats here. So with the equipment, the equipment loadout is, and the field mods. The field mods are easy. We'll go with that. So the all-terrain suspension always, right? and then your final dispersion always, which is the parallax adjustment. I would probably always go view range, and then this one I would probably I would go mobility slot, and probably also the reload speed or the reverse speed, because you want to be able to pull up, shoot something, and then pull back down maybe, and having the reload speed to pull back around corners after you've dumped your mag is a big deal. And that extra reload speed, it doesn't matter. Like, it's, what does that make it? Let's just see. It goes from 21.05 to 21.68, which is still incredibly fast. So this is not a big deal. You're not going to miss that. I would use this. This is a big one. So I'm probably always... Let me see here. Yeah, I'm always picking this one. Always picking this one. So you want more hit points. That's just always a bonus. And then also the reduction to aiming circle size after firing. That means that if you're just sitting there trying to dump a clip into somebody, normally a lot of these autoloaders will will shoot faster than they aim, right? So it'll be ready to shoot while the gun is still aiming in. But if you select this one, that will mean that it has less to aim in, right? It blooms out, you shoot, it blooms out a lot less. So the aiming circle stays tighter as you're dumping your mag. So this is definitely going to be, I think, the way to go. And then the hit to aiming speed doesn't matter. Just don't even worry about it. So that's that. And then if you've got a decent crew, and I run food, of course, because try hard. Excuse me, food. Also, this is a big deal. Off-road driving makes a huge difference. You definitely want that, especially on this, because it has it has awful ground resistances. So for equipment, there are a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of right ways. There's not that many wrong ways, to be honest with you. There's a lot of ways that you could make an argument for how to fix this tank and how to make it better. And one thing I want to touch on is that there has been a debate about the efficacy, or which one is better, right, between grousers and a turbo, specifically on these tanks, the Swedish heavy tanks, because their ground resistances are so universally awful. There is a debate here, because the effective top speed, if you look at this, the effective top speed with a turbo should be, it says 53, 50, basically 51 and 35. So if we take that off and we put this on, a grousers, it's 55 and a half, 53 and a half, and then almost 36. So let me remember. So it appears that grousers should be better, doesn't it? Effective top speed wise. Well, I can tell you with certainty, I have tested this with two otherwise identical Kranvagns, one with grousers, one with turbo, and no other changes. And in a drag race, they were exactly the same, or nearly identical. You go up a hill and they're almost identical, and then you go, like, it was the comparison was almost exactly the same. So I don't know, man. Do whatever you want to do. If you got grousers, throw them on there. If you got if you got a turbo, then throw that one on there too. I was surprised, because these stats would lead you to believe that a grousers might be the way. But honestly, I think if it's up to me, I'm probably taking the turbo only because it gives you additional reverse speed. And the grousers don't do that, because speed-wise, it was an even tie. It was an even tie, and I don't know what else to say to you. I tested it, and I can confirm that is true. So that being said, I have a couple different builds, and one of them is the full-on mobility build. I know you're going to be surprised to hear that from me. And in the mobility build, it's grousers in the improved slot, and then it's a the pink turbo you can do now, or you can do a purple turbo. And you got this going on, and then I think it was like vents, right? So vent or whatever. So this, and then instead of the food, I ran gas, right? The idea here is that now it actually is stupid fast, right? You got the turbo and the grousers, and this is increasing mobility, and you got this for your engine power, and the thing is absolutely ridiculously fast. Like, it actually goes 65. However, your gun handling is awful, so that's the drawback. So this is kind of like a very situational, and I definitely wouldn't recommend this all the time, but it's a build that I have that I like a lot. So that's something to just keep in mind, and just try it out once in a while. See what you think about it, and if you like it. For conventional stuff, for like just trying to actually play and win the game, what I would probably maybe recommend trying is a vertical stabilizer, a turbo, and then improved aiming. If you have an improved aiming that is a bounty one, that would be great, because that is going to improve your right? Your dispersion on the, like, what am I trying to say? The final dispersion has an effect on how the gun feels, right? So two tanks that are otherwise identical, same soft stats, same everything, same speeds of traverses, one having, you know, 0.4 final accuracy and one having 0.3 final accuracy. The 0.4 one, which maybe this makes sense to you intuitively as I'm saying this, the one with 0.4 final accuracy will have a worse feeling gun all the time. So by reducing the final accuracy by using improved aiming, you are making the gun feel better all the time. It's like it almost works like a vertical stabilizer in the way that the calculations are done. So when you stack an improved aiming with a vertical stabilizer, those two things combined make a really potent combination. So this is a good, this is, you know, if you want to stick with this, then I would stick with this. Alternatively, you could abandon the whole thing for the mobility, and you could go with a vertical stabilizer and vents. This is, you know, just go straight all about the gun. And if you notice there, you get your intra-clip or your drum reload down to like less than 20 seconds, which is just absurd. Most things can't even, like, I don't know, well, 183 can barely even reload before you get a whole mag up. That is just really, really impressive. And again, this is really just focusing on all the gun things that you can manage. This is also reasonable. About the only things I wouldn't recommend are, like, I wouldn't use a gun laying drive, just because the gun laying drive equipment isn't very good. It's just not very good. It doesn't, the bonus to aiming speed is not significant. I would just not do that. Aside from that, you could make an argument, I guess, for rotation mechanism, because the turret traverse is kind of slow. It does have an effect on soft stats, but those are all a function of the turret traverse. So really what this is about speed than anything else. So but you can make an argument for that. You could make an argument for improved hardening. Like, there's just so many options here, because this thing it can be fast. And so if you want to make it faster, you can. It can brawl. So if you want to make it brawl better, you can do that. Yeah, the only thing I don't recommend is camo net, really, or low noise exhaust, or binoculars, or you could make an argument for optics. You could modify config is kind of blah. The thing doesn't really let on fire that much. Spall liner, don't do that. But all the rest of these, there's an argument to be made for all of these, to be honest. So equipment is not set in stone. This is very debatable. And let me know what you guys think. If you have a certain loadout that you like a lot. If you don't have any purple stuff, what I might recommend then is doing this, like V-stab like this. This is pretty solid. Try this out. See what you think. And this will probably do pretty well for you, I think. So without further ado, we'll get into the gameplay. Alright, so for this particular game, we're going to be watching John the Terrible playing in his Kranvagn on Mountain Pass. It's an all tier 10 game, and there's one artillery per team, one light tank per team, a couple big scary tank destroyers, and John the Terrible is running purple vents, purple V-stab, and he's running a pink rotation mechanism. So just equipment-wise, that's what he's doing. And you know, I don't know. Again, it's not wrong per se. Is this the absolute best? I don't know. Maybe if it were me, I might pick something a little bit slightly different, but this isn't necessarily the wrong choice at all. John is going to take a very aggressive move here, and notice how like the top speed, he's only getting up to 42, 43 kilometers an hour, and this is important to note, because if you don't look at any closer, you might think, oh, top speed is 60. It just goes 60. And the Kranvagn and the Kranvagn line is like a perfect example of ground resistances and how they can have a pretty big impact on things. But John is going to take in this little pocket. This pocket is, in my opinion, kind of broken, because it's so good. He's dumped 2 rounds just shooting on the move at the the C5 is going to give us this cupola again. But shooting at the bat chat for free, and the worst possible timing, John decides to re-clip just as a 13105 appears. But again, he's only down for, like, you know, 18, 19, maybe 20 seconds, which sounds, I mean, it's kind of a lot, but in World of Tanks time, 20 seconds is not a long time. So and look at that, he's just like that, he's up again. And he's got an E100 helping him out on the back, because without the E100, he would have no help whatsoever. This would be bad news. But he doesn't want to, like, he's not giving his side, like, he gave his side originally to the 13105, and you don't want to take an entire clip. He took the one and then quickly jumped back. And now this is a problem, because we've got the cheese wedge. The Striv has a heat shield on the front. It's got the fence. The Striv has a fence, And the fence is great against heat rounds, which is what we're shooting right now. We got a bunch of the platoon of E100s. This is kind of perfect. Those E100s have decided to go this way for some reason. Thank God, because the only way they can progress, and you can see John the Terrible is picking his barrel up between his mags, and he's doing that intentionally to hide his cupola just in case something sees him. But those E100s can, like, John the Terrible has the bracket right now. You know, look at where can those E100s go? They have to back up. They have to like leave, because if they don't, and here's a VZ. This is not, you know, a new challenger comes. If those, oh god, here we go. So okay, so this VZ is definitely, oh, okay. VZ was about to ram John the Terrible off the cliff, and we were going to have a bad time there, but luckily we had some backup, and the backup took care of it. We have a Sturv with us and an E100. But anyways, back to what I was saying there with the E100s on the ice road, and I never recommend anybody go to the ice road basically ever, because it's so easy to get pinched. Where are those guys going to go? Nowhere. They've got John up here, and they've got all those guys down there. There's just nowhere they can go without giving John can just feast. Right, and now this VZ is also just getting feasted on. We dump a clip, and since we're looking down, this is the best case scenario. That VZ had nothing to shoot at. We didn't give him anything. You like, if you're looking down at something in a Kranvagn, you're basically God. And it's easy to play. All you need to do is be hull down, and you win. And now here we are, loaded again, ready to go again. And this VZ still hasn't learned. Sorry, VZ. That's it. And now we just put one in the bat chat, and he's still there for some reason. So like, this is actually all going really, really well if you think about it, because that we've just been given like 2 or 3 mags for free, right? Look, I mean, if you haven't paid attention, this has happened so quickly. We've already got one kill and 4,700 damage at this point. Like, this is already a fantastic game. And there's still so many, like, these E100s just don't care. Look at this. They can't. If they look at John, they get shot by by our guys on the hill. And if they look at the guys on the hill, then John just gets to dump an entire mag in for free, which he's now doing. And so he's done that. But because he reloads so quickly, he's going to have another one ready to go here for this E100 in, like, I don't know, what is that, like 9 more seconds? Like, just, if you just pay attention to the DPM that's happening, this is insane. Like, this, he just gets to feast. Like, and okay, so that one E100 has managed to get into cover a little bit now, but he's still got 2 friends, and so here we go. This, I mean, this, I kind of feel bad. Like, somebody needs to call the, what is it, the ASPCA on what John is doing to these E100s. This is filthy. Unfortunately, if you notice on the mini-map here, always be paying attention to the mini-map, we had a Striv that had pushed out by himself, which is never a good idea, and that Striv is now dead. So, okay, John is going to put the rounds into the E100 because the E100 is closest to being out of the fight, or out of our range. And then put the last one in the Jaegeru, and now we're going to totally, oh my gosh, totally want to stay safe from that Jaegeru if we can. And the enemy Striv is here. Like, we've definitely got some company, and there's an E5. But luckily, again, we're not out of the fight because our clip reloads so quickly. All we need to do is just, okay, land the shot. Don't get distracted by the heat rounds. Okay, there we go. So now, like, just John is just dealing with this like 2v1 faster than I can even commentate on it. But you can see he's trying to pick off the one shots. It's important to pick off the one shots as quick as you can to take the guns out of the fight. And now John just has to face hug, right? He's jamming his barrel in a way, making it hard for this E5 to make any shots count. And all he has to do is stall and wait for his clip to come back. And here he is. Now he's ready to go, and you got to aim these shots and not mess it up, and perfect. He just nailed that. He just won the 2v1. He's at 9,900 damage. This is insanity. And again, there's still so many hit points left to play. Oh my god, left to shoot. And that was an AP round from the Jaegeru that John could just kind of shrug off. And now because he's reloaded so quickly, I don't know, I think if he'd had improved aiming, that probably would have hit, and so would that one have. But understandably, he's a little bit nervous, probably, about taking a shot from the Jaegeru, because Jaegeru heat rounds can probably, I think they could probably pen, like, but AP rounds, if you're angling correctly, are going to have a really hard time. You can just, if you are hull down in a Kranvagn, doing the things correctly, like John has been, you don't really need to care about things like a Jaegeru, which is pretty unique. There's not a lot of things that can just not care about a Jaegeru. So here we are. We're in the comfy spot here, and we've lost the other side of the map, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is not John's problem. John's problem right now is to shoot the things in front of him and try to take things out of the game as quick as he possibly can. And he's up again. He's out of heat rounds. All he has left is APCR, which is going to make it pretty tough, but the Jaegeru does have a cupola, and we're going to aim, and he's trying to just not give him anything between every shot. Immediately he puts his cupola up. He picks his gun up to hide that cupola, and this is just a textbook maneuver. Like, this is exactly what you want to do, and this is exactly how you want to do it. And all of a sudden, oh my god, there's a badger. This is like, player 5 has entered the game, and John expertly dodges the shot from the Jaegeru, and now we have a problem. So this badger, or the badger, like, that's going to be bad, right? So luckily, John tracks him twice, and now hits him in the track again as we create some space, try to get around the back side of him. I think that the badger is definitely going to refix his track. He's going to fix his track before John is loaded. Like, it loads fast, but it doesn't load that fast. So he needs to create some space and find a rock so that he can give a little ring around the rosy and just stall for time. And not that much time, because look at that, he's already loaded. I think this badger must not have realized how quickly these things reload. Because, I mean, just look at that. They're like, I can't, it's hard to put into words. Like, that happened quickly. That badger probably thought he had this thing on lock, and now all of a sudden it's not figured out, and he's just been owned. So at this point, John the Terrible has 12,700 damage, 4 kills, and he's running out of ammo. He's got 5 rounds left of APCR and only 3 HE rounds left after this too. So, like, what do you do? What do you do about this? Everything is basically spotted. There's a Jaegeru on the right that we've just been dealing with before, but then there's also a T-57. If we go back to the same overhang we were looking at before, then that T-57 is going to clip us. So you can't go there, and the Jaeger is pretty much just like, so that the bridge is closed, basically. The way is shut. So I think John is going to go this way to try to take the artillery out of the game, which, if you think about, like, this game is probably over, right? So in that case, sure, why not just go get a kill, get some free damage from the artillery? Why not? We do need to pick this up. Yeah, perfect. We picked up the artillery before it managed to snap a shot in, because, you know, it doesn't really stand up very well to artillery, and he's only on 117 hit points. So even if the T-92 would have splashed John, I think he probably would have been dead. So it was, understandably, he was pretty cagey about that engagement, even though it was an artillery on the move. But it's pretty obvious at this point in the game. 13,000 damage, 13,200 damage, and 5 kills. John has earned the stripes on that barrel. Pretty impressive stuff. Unfortunately, we only have 6 rounds left, and 3 of those are HE. And I think, if I recall correctly, this game has made John reevaluate his ammo choice. I probably won't be carrying any HE rounds in my Kranvagn, and I don't think John will after this game either, because, oh my lord, I mean, those guys have done a really admirable job in this game so far. Okay, you're gonna check to make sure that make sure that E100 or the Jaegeru is gone. But the guys that are defending the base have done a really good job. Those, like, we had 4 guys attack the base individually, and that Jaegeru fended them all off except for the last one. So, like, pretty impressive stuff. What a spectacular fail from the enemy team. Like, this is way closer than it has any right to be. I just, like, I don't know. There's, all those guys needed to do was wait for the Jaeger to shoot one time, and then they rush him. But somehow they waited for him to reload, like, 3 separate times. And John, we don't know where the Jaegeru is, so I think John wants this artillery to give some intel, right? Because John is the only, like, there's no way the artillery is going to carry this game. So I think John is looking for some information from the artillery so we can go into the engagement knowing kind of what we're dealing with. Okay, right away now there's 2 people on the cap. Okay, here she says you need to take the hit artillery. So we know that we're gonna have an E100 and a Jaegeru in the cap, and those guys are gonna shoot John. And so John was hoping to get the artillery to eat one of the rounds from one of those tanks so that John can get in here and then clip both of them, because if he has the ammunition in this one mag to finish this game and win it, but he can't take a hit. And oh my god, okay, luckily this E100, the Jaegeru, flubs it, and he must be so mad. Like, but at this point now, so we have an E100 here it is, and there's a little police bar, a little rangefinder on the top of the E100, and John has this. He's got to make a shot, right? So he made that shot just because he needed to reset the base. But now, unfortunately, all he has left is HE rounds. This is a big problem. Like, if John had an APCR clip or a heat clip, he would probably be winning this game. All the Batchat already would need to do is eat one shot, and you come in there and you'd make it happen. But because there's HE only, I don't see how he can possibly win this. Like, how do you possibly win this? You can't pen the back of an E100 with HE. I think the only way you can maybe do this is you somehow got on top of the hill and shot down at the engine deck. Then maybe you could make that happen. But look at, points for effort. He's trying to aim at this very carefully at the police bar. But now here the artillery has finally got the clue. But there's not, like, at this point, I don't see how this possibly goes well. Like, how does this doesn't go well? There's no way this works. And yeah, John's got one round left. It's really unfortunate. It looked like I don't know. There's no way this goes well. Yeah, he's gonna aim his last shot and that's it. He's out of ammo. It's really unfortunate because if a couple of those random shots had hit and had penned, if this is what I mean, like, it looks like a fantastic game, and it was, but that ammo, man, one more mag would have made a big, huge difference. So anyways, what a game. All right, so at the end of the game, John the Terrible ended up taking home 13,328 damage, 6 kills, 4,300 blocked, 670 assists. It's a Top Gun, high caliber. He had a bunch of base defense, an ace tanker, of course. Just a fantastic game. I mean, he carried the team pretty obviously. And that ended up getting him 1,107 base XP on a loss, which is huge. I mean, if you look at the team score, it's pretty obvious here. I haven't done the numbers on this, but I'm pretty sure he did more damage than the entire rest of his team. These numbers just blow my mind. So what a game. And then here at the end of it, it looks like John did end up costing himself a little bit. And there was a mission payout. So yeah, this would have been a very expensive game just because of the heat rounds, but honestly, who cares? With a game like this, you got to shoot what you got to shoot to get the job done. And it was a fantastic game. And so, yeah, congratulations to John. And yeah, it looks like you definitely earned those stripes on your barrel. And good luck on the next one. And thanks for sending in the replay. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.